I don't know why he's cutting and running so early. I mean, it's just this is like he's got a lot more in the I'll be honest with you, Anna. He's the youngest 86 that I've seen. I mean, I've seen 86-year-olds who are like
struggling. Yeah,
struggling
to say the
is
least.
the best way to say it.
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Thursday, January 8th, 2026. Let's get in the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, how Trump rattled healthcare talks once again. Number two, Senate Republicans look to avoid a possible rare loss on the War Powers Resolution. And number three, the latest on government funding. All right, Jake, let's get right to it. We are leading Punchbowl News AM with a look at how President Donald Trump, speaking to Republicans, saying they need to be flexible and hide, is actually having the reverse effect of it hardening some members' positions and then also just showing light, right, to the fact that the White House is not in the game when it comes to health care. They are not trying to cut deals, and Republicans are out in the wind trying to figure it out.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, Trump seems to have hardened support for Hyde, which was the opposite
effect
of what
he was going
trying
for.
to do.
Right.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he was trying to. Yeah, right. I don't think that was his goal. Of course, the Hyde Amendment is, let's just remind everybody, that provision that basically prevents the government from spending taxpayer money on abortion services. As I think I said yesterday, this has been Republican orthodoxy, Republican kind of table stakes for, I don't know, Anna, as long as I could remember.
Yep.
And even used to be for conservative Democrats, something that conservative Democrats were very, not worked up about, but very interested in maintaining, right? I mean, during the Obamacare conversations in 2009, 2010, you remember Bart Stupak and all those folks who were pro-life, anti-abortion, say that the Hyde Amendment needed to be upheld in the ACA. So this is an interesting quote. This is something that we've been writing and you and I have been talking about for a long time. This is a Republican senator involved in the bipartisan healthcare talks. If Trump felt strongly enough to prod us in public, why doesn't he send his advisors to come meet with us and work out a deal? If the White House embraces a deal that's squishy on Hyde, I have no doubt in the world he could convince enough of us to vote for it. This is, again, just another example, and this isn't a criticism. No, we would probably be criticizing them if they were very involved. But they are just not that involved in the nitty-gritty of these talks. They are leaving it to the Senate, which is a good thing in many respects. But what we've been saying all along is there is no chance of a healthcare deal, or not no chance, but a very diminished chance of a healthcare deal unless the White House is intricately involved and the president is all over it. And I think you're seeing that now. And one more thing, Anna, the 3-year premium subsidy extension is going to be up in the House today. 9 House Republicans voted for a procedural motion yesterday to discharge that bill. So you imagine that at least 9 are going to vote for it today when it hits the floor. That is a relatively big coalition of Republicans who are voting for the ACA extension.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just underscores the tension, right, and the worry that a lot of Republicans have that they're going to get blamed in the midterms for rates going up. So there's clearly effort, right? And you look at the Senate, they're meeting in a bipartisan fashion, and you've got the Problem Solvers Caucus going to be meeting with senators. I mean, there is agitation to get something done, but I mean, I've been saying this, I've been on this for the last several months. Everybody who listens to this podcast knows. I mean, I think there has been a massive vacuum on Capitol Hill among Republicans for momentum to get anything done because this administration is focused elsewhere. They're focused on Venezuela. They have been focused in the Middle East. They've been focused on Ukraine. And they have not been focused on healthcare. They were going to put together a plan and then they pulled back on that. And this is just another issue, right, where you have Republicans clamoring for some kind of leadership for the president to weigh in here, to actually get in the game, or his advisors get in the game so that they could potentially get something done versus spending what could be the first quarter of 2026 on healthcare and having nothing to show for it.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, there's competing. I think we wrote this either January 1st or 2nd when we didn't have a podcast. There's like several different lines of thinking in the House Republican Conference, and I think in the Senate, in the Senate too, but like just Republicans writ large. There's the we're never going to fight back to even on healthcare. So let's just like ignore it. And like the thing expired. Like we're not going to win this fight. Let's move on. That's the first. The second is let's spend. This is like the Chip Roy line of thinking, right? Like let's reform healthcare once and for all. Like we could do it, everybody. Like that kind of vibe. And then there's the like third group, which is the middle of the conference, which is probably the most tethered to reality politically. ACA is law. We can't let these things expire. Let's work the best deal we can and get it the hell out of the way and do it quickly so we can focus on, bills that lower costs and, things that are much more in our wheelhouse. And so that's kind of how it breaks down, Anna.
All right. Well, we are going to be watching it very closely. Two quick things. Really important. Representative Steny Hoyer, the Democrat from Maryland, 86, is retiring. Jake, he has been in the House since 1981, before I was even born. Before you were born, certainly.
Yeah, before I was born, that's for sure. I mean, I don't know why he's cutting and running so early. I mean, it's just this is like he's got a lot more in the I'll be honest with you, Anna, just to say quickly. He's probably about the youngest 84 or 86. What'd you say he was? 86, right?
86,
He's the youngest 86 that I've seen. I mean, I've seen 86-year-olds who are like
struggling. Yeah.
Struggling is the best way to say it. He's in a suit and tie every day. He is as sharp as could be. And it's been very great covering him all these years. He's always been very kind, and he gives reporters a lot of time, even if he is frustrated by our questioning or doesn't like something. I remember you and I, Anna, before we were even working together, being in that conference room on the first floor of the Capitol for those pen and pads
every
back
week.
Back in the early Pelosi majorities, and Steny in his shirt sleeves. Those things would last like 45 minutes and. So anyway.
That's a memory, a distant memory. That's funny. All right. Also, we have Senator Eric Schmidt, the Republican from Missouri, as a guest on Flyout Day. We are back today.
Not 86, 50 years old.
Yes, not 86. But we are talking about healthcare, but we are also going to be talking about Venezuela, Republican positioning in the midterms. There's a ton to get to. He's close with the administration, and we look forward to talking with him, and hopefully you all checking that out. RJ, on to the number 2 story of the morning. Senate Republican leaders are working to avoid a rare floor defeat as senators take up the War Powers Resolution. There are multiple members of the Senate conference who are considering, have not said where they're going to shake out when it comes to Senator Tim Kaine's War Powers Resolution, unsatisfied by the administration's briefings. And that could cause a potential problem, certainly for Senator John Thune, but also this White House does not want Republicans to be breaking with them when it comes to their strategy in the Caribbean.
Let's say this, Anna. The New York Times sat down for, I think, what they described as a multi-hour interview. Let me just double check. With Trump yesterday on these topics. 2-hour interview, nearly 2-hour interview. I don't want to give it too much credit, I guess. And this is the table stakes or the setting for the backdrop for this vote today. Trump said that he expected the United States would be running Venezuela and extracting oil from its huge reserves for years. For years. This is not short term.
It's going to make a lot of Senate Republicans uncomfortable.
During the interview, he did not give a precise time range for how long the United States would remain Venezuela's political overlord. Would it be 3 months, 6 months, a year, longer? I would say much longer, the president said. Okay? So, that's what we're looking at here. And, some people might think that's great. He's not saying when there might be boots on the ground and if there would be boots on the ground. But, I think a lot of people are very curious in the Senate as to what is next. And that's the backdrop in which we're operating and this vote will happen. And the president has wide berth to conduct foreign policy and military operations. As I've said before, Congress has given up a lot of this power. But, the president's asking a lot here. I mean, if occupying or running Venezuela for years is quite the plan, Anna, what don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, certainly as you've had an America First strategy and the idea that, you don't want to be in foreign countries in, unending wars. I mean, the Republicans we're going to watch here, important senators Josh Hawley, Tom Tillis, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Todd Young, none of whom have said how they will vote. I mean, Hawley, we quote him saying, "We were told that there are currently no boots on the ground. Is it an option?" What I heard was that everything is an option.
Yeah, that's what they've been saying.
So
That's what they've been saying. The president's in the New York Times today saying we might be running it for years.
And Hawley followed up saying separately that he would oppose U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela, believing that would require congressional approval. So
correct.
You certainly have this issue happening. John Thune trying to kind of keep Republicans together. Meanwhile, in the House, a group of House lawmakers led by Representatives Jim McGovern, the Democrat from Massachusetts, and Tom Massey, the Republican from Kentucky, are going to roll out their own war powers resolution Thursday at noon. I mean, this is going to be a continuing problem as long as this issue or this conflict in Venezuela, potentially now for years, as the president said, that this is going to be something that Democrats certainly are going to be hammering for the next 6 to 9 months. I mean, this is not the last vote we're going to see on this.
Right. Correct.
All right, let's run to the number 3 story of the morning. Government funding. Man, it is January 30th. Before we know it, the House is now poised to pass another trio of funding bills today with bipartisan support taking a crucial step forward in the government funding process. But the most controversial spending bills are up next. Government funding always tricky, but Jake, this is a positive move forward for the idea that we are not going to have a government shutdown January 3rd.
Right. Give them credit. The Republican leadership got this rule across the floor yesterday. It was a little bit bumpy. They had to assuage the concerns of some conservatives who said they want more input or something like that. Who the hell knows what they actually want? But they said they want more time to read the bills, which is okay. They folded anyway in the end. They voted for it. Listen, it could get bumpier as we get into the Homeland bill, which is going to be certainly after what happened yesterday, the shooting, the killing of a civilian in Minneapolis by ICE. This is going to be something that we have to, the Homeland bill and other parts of the appropriations process is going to be important to keep an eye on. In addition, there's questions about, as we wrote yesterday, Democrats split over whether to use the appropriations process to clamp down on the president in Venezuela.
Right. Still unresolved, right? This probably hardens that position even more. All right. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media. Tell your friends. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. And of course, you can go deeper on all things Punchbowl News by subscribing to our AM newsletter. It's free. Just go to punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.